Online learning does not have to be scary. And Madison College was there for me.
We have people that are dedicated to our students' online success.
We can help you with your technology.
Give us the college try for 7 days. No risk, no worries. Madison College.
Good afternoon, folks. I am Robert Chappell. I'm executive editor here at Madison365 with your daily update for Sunday, the 20th of December. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. The numbers today are a little bit deceptive, I think. Not in a malicious way or a purposeful way. It's just it's a Sunday, so everything's low, as it has been the case. But today they're even lower than usual in terms of the number of new cases. So I think there might be some temptation to feel like it's a really good news day. But if you look at the numbers in any sort of context, it's not. The number of cases today we have, but again, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom or scare you either. Just saying that take these numbers with a big grain of salt. 1,826 new cases today, which is the lowest we've had. I've said it in the story that it's the lowest we've had in more than a month. It's probably more like 2 months, but I didn't have the last 3 months of data right in front of me, so I knew I could say confidently it's been more than a month since we've been below 2,000 cases. I think it's been closer to 2 months, maybe even more than that. Like it might be going back to early October before we could say like legitimately less than 1,800 or less than 2,000 cases in a day. Now, part of the reason that it's so low today is we only had 7,700 tests. Now, a couple of days ago, 5 days ago, we were even lower than that for a couple of days coming out of last weekend. Like last week, this past week, Monday and Tuesday, we're both like 7,300 and 7,300 2 days in a row. But the positive rates those days were well into the, one of them was 29%, one of them was 47%. Today, the 1,800 cases on 7,700 tests is 23.7% positive, which is really, really high. Yesterday, it was 33%. Okay, so it's better than yesterday. Now, all that said, this is why we don't look at just the 1 day. The 7-day positive test rate is unchanged from yesterday. Okay, if that number came down suddenly, that would be really good news, but it didn't, and it's not going to. 26.9 is what that's at right now. What that means is, of all the people who had a COVID test in the past 7 days, 26.9% tested positive. That's more than 1 out of 4 tested positive in the past 7 days. The number of total tests that were positive is 9.4%, which is basically the same as it was yesterday, which was 9.6%, not a significant change. What that means is, of all the tests that have been run, which includes some people getting 3 or 4 tests, because they're healthcare workers and such, all of those, about 1 in 10 are coming up positive. We need to get that down to like 1 out of 50. Like 2% is where that really should be. 3% is pushing it. So we need to get that. It's about 1 in 10 right now. It needs to get down to 1 in 50 before we can really, breathe that sigh of relief. The number of deaths we reported today, 18 deaths. And I can tell you where they were. And again, that's typically low for a Sunday because when people die, it's not that they don't get reported right away. It doesn't. These are deaths that happen over the course of weeks. These are all the 18 deaths I'm going to tell you about happened probably 2 weeks ago. And so there's a paperwork process basically that has to happen before they land in this data. And that paperwork just doesn't happen on the weekends as much. I mean, obviously some gets done, but not as much. So Sundays are really low, but here's where they were so far. Winnebago County, Walworth County, Kenosha, Eau Claire all reported 2. And then St. Croix, Rock, Milwaukee, Menominee, Greene, Fond du Lac, Dodge, Chippewa, Brown, and Barron all reported 1. Even with that, yesterday we had the highest number in a few weeks. We had 84 yesterday. So even with that lower number today, our 7-day average of deaths actually went up a little bit. It was like 51.1 yesterday, and today it's 51.5. So that went up slightly because, we're looking at 7-day average, which means last Sunday falls off and this Sunday gets added to the total. And last Sunday we had 15. So it's slightly more this Sunday, so the average goes up. A 14-day death average held steady at 50, though. So, for the past over a month now, we've been kind of right in this area of 50 deaths per day reported, which, if you look over the course of a month, the number of deaths you report every day is probably going to be relatively close to the number of deaths that actually happen every day, on average. So I think it's we can fairly confidently say that over the past month we've lost 50 people a day. For comparison, heart disease is the number 1 cause of death in Wisconsin. It kills 32 people every day. COVID now kills 50 every day for the past month. Now, heart disease is year-round, right? If we average out, we have now 4,417 deaths. If we average those out over the entire past, 9 months, the daily average would be lower than heart disease. But for right now, the daily average for the past, and not just a little bit of time, for the past month, probably 6 weeks, honestly, coronavirus has killed more people than heart disease every day. If you did it by like a month at a time, COVID would be the leading cause of death in Wisconsin right now, and in the United States, for that matter. Alex makes an excellent point. Cases in the jail, the cases in Dane County Jail. I don't have a updated number. There was a big spike in the Dane County Jail about 3 weeks ago. And it is difficult, obviously, to contain. I'm kind of working on investigating as much as I can. This idea that they're not supposed to be giving people cash bail. They're supposed to be just letting people stay home on recognizance to wait trial, because they're not doing jury trials right now, and because it's just impossible to contain a pandemic inside a jail. And Dane County Jail is also not alone. Lots of county jails are having outbreaks, and lots of state prisons are having outbreaks. This is a while ago now. This is like during the peak of our statewide spike in cases in like September, October. 3 different prisons had massive outbreaks, and it's a significant problem, and that the state doesn't seem to have a real appetite to do much about, unfortunately. The corrections department hasn't done a lot of movement on it. They say the right stuff about with protocols, and we're trying to do stuff and whatever, but like it doesn't seem like anything's really happening. And it's being brought in, obviously, by staff who aren't required to be quarantined. You'd think it's possible that a jail, which is a pretty secure place, supposedly, could actually be a safe place to be, but it's not. So thank you, Alex, for mentioning that. It's an important thing to keep in mind. That is, I believe, if I'm not missing anything, again, these are very difficult numbers to hang your hat on, really, just because the testing is so low. I do know that malls are full right now. So there's a lot of people out and about shopping, which is, I understand. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see another little spike after the first of the year. I think what will happen, this is my prognostication, my amateur prediction, is that we will continue to see lower testing through Christmas, and then after the new year, once things start to kind of rev back up again, people will start to go get tested, and we'll see these numbers come back up. And I think there'll be a lot of positive cases that never get diagnosed because this month in November, or December rather, is sort of between Thanksgiving and Christmas period when people just didn't feel like getting tested. Everything kind of just closes down this time of year, right? It slows down. People just don't do as much stuff this time of year. But I think people will start to get tested again in January, and I think we'll start to see these numbers go back up. And I think we'll also see deaths and hospitalizations go back up after Christmas, because I think people are going to do Christmas in groups, just the way they did Thanksgiving. Now, we didn't see a massive Thanksgiving spike the way we thought we might. But it's hard to say. I can't say for sure that it didn't happen because there was never enough testing after Thanksgiving. Right? The positive test rates stayed high. The deaths stayed high. They didn't get any worse after Thanksgiving. But I think it seems to me that there just was a lot of people who caught the virus and stayed home and didn't get tested. So we'll see if that happens again for Christmas. And we'll see what happens, going through January and into February. One other thing. One other thing I'll mention is hospitalizations are also down a little bit today. They were down a lot yesterday. Like it was like 56 lower yesterday, and today it's lower by 6. So the current hospital population of COVID patients is 1,268. And the ICU population held steady at 292. So both of those numbers are okay. We'd like to see them lower. We'd like to see better hospital capacity, but for now, the number of people hospitalized is continuing to drop. Bernie, I'd be interested to know where you get this. Bernie mentions people have been turned away from testing in many parts of the state. I have not heard that to be the case. I think that was the case, in the spring and into the summer. But I have not heard of that. If you have first-hand experience with that, or a source for that, I would love to hear it. And you can DM me, or you can just send a message to the Madison365 page. I'd love to know more about that, because my understanding is that DHS, the health, the state health agency, really doesn't know why testing is down, other than just people aren't coming in to get tested. Because what they're saying is there's plenty of testing supplies and plenty of lab capacity, but just people aren't making use of it. If there are specific areas in the state that are short of supplies, that maybe isn't communicated well to DHS, or that just isn't, that they're not, the DHS isn't mentioning, I would love to know that. Okay, that's basically all I have today. The It's Only 10 Minutes podcast is back tomorrow morning. We'll have more news for you, and then we'll also have in the next couple of weeks, as we approach the end of the year, we're going to be talking with our reporters and rerunning some of their favorite stories from the year. It's been a rough year for everybody, but there was a lot of good news that we reported on, a lot of good community stuff, that we reported on. So we'll be kind of replaying some greatest hits of 2020 over the next couple of weeks, and we'll be hearing from some of the reporters and what their favorite stories were to do and why. So appreciate your attention this afternoon. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your Sunday, and we will see you again tomorrow afternoon.
This is 365 Media.